In a war that's already claimed thousands of lives and devastated entire cities, you wouldn't expect a training camp, far from the front lines, to become the center of one of the deadliest single attacks in months. But that's exactly what happened in Chernihiv, Ukraine. On the morning of July 29, 2025, a Russian Iskander missile strike hit the 169th Training Center, killing and wounding an estimated 200 Ukrainian soldiers in seconds. No warning, no interception, just impact. Today we break down how this happened, what was used, why it matters, and the troubling signs this event reveals about the future of the war in Ukraine. Located in the quiet village of Hancharivske, the 169th Training Center is no stranger to military activity. It's a major base for Ukraine's Strategic Army Reserve, a place where thousands of fresh conscripts and returning veterans rotate in and out for combat refreshers, drills, and mobilization exercises. But at 9:47 a.m., two Russian Iskander-M missiles slammed into the base. The first used a cluster warhead, scattering dozens of lethal bomblets over a wide area, perfectly suited for open training grounds and personnel in motion. The second carried a high-explosive warhead designed for structural annihilation and overpressure shockwaves. The result? Dozens dead on impact, hundreds injured, tents flattened, vehicles incinerated, structures reduced to twisted debris, and the worst part? No air defense was activated, not even a siren. The Iskander-M isn't new, but what makes it terrifying is how quickly and quietly it delivers death. Each missile flies at speeds exceeding Mach 6, with a range of up to 500 kilometers. It's designed to bypass radar detection. It can maneuver mid-flight, and when paired with precision targeting and real-time satellite data, it becomes nearly impossible to stop, especially in areas without layered air defense. This isn't about brute force anymore. It's about surgical, unchallenged precision. And on that July morning, Ukraine had no answer for it. Why target a training camp? Why go after soldiers not even at the front? Because strategy is about timing, and according to leaked Russian sources, intelligence indicated that more than 300 personnel had just assembled in the area, ready for deployment to the east. In military terms, this wasn't just a training base, it was a logistical node, a transition point for trained manpower heading into high-conflict zones like Donetsk and Zaporizhia. Neutralizing it before they moved out, a high-value tactical win. This is where the story turns from tragedy to warning. There were no functioning air defense systems guarding the camp, not even a short-range manpads team, no NASAMS, no IRIS-T, no radar coverage. Some argue it was too far from the front to justify air defense allocation. Others say Ukraine has stretched its systems too thin, prioritizing cities and frontline units, leaving rear areas dangerously exposed. Either way, the gap was fatal, and it's not the first time. Rear depots, bridges, command posts, many have been hit over the past year under similar circumstances. So why wasn't this base better protected? Let's be clear, Ukraine is fighting a war of survival. Its forces are outnumbered, outgunned, and fighting against one of the largest militaries in the world. But it's also true that some vulnerabilities have been repeatedly overlooked. Open communication channels, predictable movement schedules, poor camouflage of rear areas, underestimation of Russia's long-range precision capabilities. These are not new problems, but after over 2 years of war, they remain unaddressed in several sectors. Criticizing Ukraine isn't blaming the victim, but acknowledging its operational mistakes is essential to understanding how these tragedies happen and how they might be prevented. The strike on Hancharivske was not a fluke. It was the result of high-quality targeting, intelligence integration, and ruthless efficiency. And it signals something deeper. Rear areas are now frontline targets. In the age of satellite surveillance, signal intercepts, and hypersonic missiles, the old model of safe zones no longer applies. If troops gather in one place, if communication goes unencrypted, if defenses are not in place, then one strike is all it takes. In the hours following the attack, Ukrainian officials were unusually quiet. No dramatic press conferences, no immediate footage released. Why? Because this time, it was clear they were caught off guard. Only the next day did Ukrainian media confirm the event, framing it as a cowardly strike on a non-frontline facility. But as more satellite imagery and casualty reports emerged, the magnitude became undeniable. This wasn't just a missile attack, it was a strategic wake-up call. Western media picked up the story slowly. Some outlets reported it, but many remained focused on drone strikes and counteroffensives in the south. Why the lack of attention? Because acknowledging the scale of this loss raises uncomfortable questions. Are NATO-supplied air defenses truly effective if they can't cover key facilities? Is Ukraine's strategy of forward deployment sustainable? And what happens if these strikes become the norm, not the exception? The West may want to focus on Ukrainian advances, but Russia's long-range dominance still shapes the battlefield, and the cost of ignoring that is measured in body bags. The 169th Training Center will rebuild. New recruits will come, new barracks will rise. But for 200 families in Ukraine, the war just became personal again. And for military planners in Kyiv and abroad, the question lingers. If a base this deep can be hit with this much precision, what's next? This is no longer about who controls a trench or a town. This is about survival under satellite eyes and living under the shadow of missiles that don't miss.